Hi everyone, my name is Mukesh Sharma and you are watching U Talks. So today we are going to talk about how to perform under pressure, episode number 10. In last two episodes we talked about in episode 8 and episode 9 how do you check the top 10 solutions of managing the pressure. One was how do you befriend the moment. Second was you have to believe that the pressure situation you are working in, it's one of the multiple opportunities you have. We also talked about how do you downsize the importance of something which you are in. We also talked about how do you keep your focus on the mission you have in the hand. How do you anticipate the unexpected? We talked about the rest of the five pressure solutions in episode 9, that you should recognize that you are worthy. You should recall at your best. You should use your positive GPS system and stay in the moment and be a control freak, saying that what you can control, you should only worry about that, not something about which you cannot. So today we are going to talk about the next 6 pressure solutions, which are now going to make from 10 to 16, and these are very important pressure solutions. You can see we are going to talk about carry a pressure tune. First of all, when we say carry a pressure tune, now you would have seen when you watch an IPL cricket match, the Royal Challengers Bangalore is a very nice team, but sometimes they're not able to make their ways into playoffs and they lose out. And even we have seen one of the most important sports matches, whatever you follow, some of your favorite teams may not be able to perform that much. So what happens at this point of time? So they say that in case the sports people who carry a pressure tune, like listening to music or humming your best tune should be the most important thing in your life, that will actually keep you distracted from the anxiety. And that's what it basically mentions, that you should carry a pressure tune in your mind. I remember very clearly, it was around 20 years ago when I went to Japan first time. When you go to a new country, you meet new people, you have to make presentations, you are subjected to new pressure situations. Then I was humming a tune from one of my favorite movies, DDLJ, which is an Indian movie, and I was humming the song so that it can depressurize me and mentally can relax me. So carrying a pressure tune before you are entering into a pressure situation, or even just to relax and calm yourself, is important. Sometimes it is possible that you might have a music system along with you and you can play your music song. Now everyone carries a smartphone and earphone. You can always when you're traveling and put the plug in your earbud, and then you can always listen to the music. If you don't have, in that case, you can always hum a song. So carrying a pressure tune basically distracts you from having and feeling the pressure more. So this is the most important thing which we talked about. And if you talk about the second, which is the 12th solution they talk, is use an anchor or an analogy. I'm personally a very big fan of using anchors and analogy. And the reason is that I always believe that once you are learning something as a skill, it also matters the way you learn a skill, you execute it the same way. There is an example mentioned in the book. He says that how a person learns a task affects how a person performs the task in a high pressure moment. Now what basically they want to say is that they gave an assignment of performing a very important, very critical task to a group of students, and they said that some of the students were given a 10 descriptive procedural steps to perform their task, and one group was told that imagine as if you are putting a cookie in a jar, so that they actually anchored a situation of the high pressure moment with a very simple analogy and a simple task. And at least to understand that the task is not simple to put a cookie in the jar by throwing it, but they actually believe that this is an analogy which they have to follow. So it helps a lot. How I use personally in my real life, I'm personally a very big fan of cricket. So what I basically do is that whenever there's a situation I have in front, whether it is closing a deal, talking to a client, going for a presentation, or thinking about my future plans or the company plans, I always imagine that how many runs I have to score in that particular situation or in that particular scenario. For example, last month I was talking to my boss and I was saying that we are very close to closing this large deal, and he asked me that, so how it is looking? So I told him very clearly, I said, I am going to score. I have to score 11 balls, 27 runs, which means I need 1 6 or 1 4 at some point of time. So it gives an analogy to my whole situation. I know that if I can score a 6 or a 4 on one ball, then I would have left another 19 or 20 or 21 runs in 10 balls, which I can always score by being sticking not to lose my wicket and score singles or doubles or like that. So it gives me an analogy in my mind to depressurize myself in a particular pressure situation, and it really helps. So that basically is called that use an anchor or an analogy to your particular pressure situation. Then the next point, the 13th pressure solution is actually pressure yourself, which means that you are subjecting yourself to certain kind of baby pressure situation. So if you are putting your son or your daughter and telling him or her that you have to attempt these 20 questions in, let's say, 90 minutes, and he or she may say that no dad, because I get 2 hours to do the same exam in the school, you are probably giving me less time. But subjecting yourself to these small extra pressure situations will prepare yourself for the real scenario where you have the high pressure, because in the high pressure situation always you feel the time is less. So in such a way, if you can pressure yourself more, then you are able to perform at high level in the real pressure situations. So that was one thing which actually really helps me to understand that how do you subject yourself into different scenarios of the pressure situations. So the next 14th one we talk about is when you are in squeeze. Now what does that mean? It's a very important thing because it contains some of the more technical terms. So I'll use the reference here. It says that whenever we are in a pressure situation, it says that the explanation it is given here is that when we learn and practice a new skill, we rely on the left frontal lobe of the brain. You use, and as you practice the skill and becomes more automatic, the skill and the associated behavior pass over to your right hemisphere of the brain, so where the performance is automatically and unself-consciously controlled. So what it says is that it transfers from your left to the right side. It also transfers your voice, your tone, your mannerism, your speech, your body. So every information is actually transferred. So what happens is that when you come into pressure situations, probably your right brain, where your automatic execution of the things has to happen, doesn't function properly. So the example it gives is that it's a very tactical example that take a ball and start pressing in your left hand, and the results they have shown is that if you're right-hander and you're performing and you're writing an exam or doing whatever you want to do or playing a sports, if you take a ball and press on your left hand, then it creates and activates your right brain more powerfully, so where your automatic information to execute a task is stored, and that will help you to perform better in a pressure situation. Very important point. I have not used it that much, but yes, I was telling my son that probably if he feels in such a way, probably he can use it. But yes, I'm going to definitely use and try that. Another solution which we talk about is the write the pressure off. Now it's a very important solution, very interesting one as well. See, writing out your concerns about high pressure situations you are facing is very important. So it says worrying about what can go wrong diminishes processing power and your working memory capital, which says the working memory capacity. It says working memory capacity is shortened, and the WMC is housed in the prefrontal cortex. It allows you to keep in the mind information that is critical the task you are performing. So different psychologists have said that if you are concerned, you should write down what kind of pressure situation you are in. For example, I am making these videos. It is also one way of realizing that you may be in the pressure and you're talking about pressure, so which also releases the pressure a bit. And if you are working for your corporate programs, if you are working for your business, if you are working for your sports, in whatever profession you are, if you are able to write down the kind of pressure situations you might be anticipating on a daily basis, then over a period of time, the results shows that it actually minimizes your distractive thinking. An important thing which also I must mention is that expressing your concern in writing, or probably even in speaking to someone, especially more in the writing, it increases your insight into the sources of the pressure. It's a very important point, very interesting point. If you write about the pressure situations you may be in, or you could be going in, if you write about it, it increases the sources of the information about the source of the pressure, and that's a very important key point. Then we talk about the next one, which is put away all self-consciousness. It's a very important point. It says that when we are doing any task, and if we are doing a task alone in our composed atmosphere where no one is watching us, we always perform probably better. But the moment we subject ourselves to some scrutiny or some observation, or if someone is watching us, or if we are even video recording few things, it would put a little bit of extra pressure on us. For example, I'm speaking now on this video camera. I can tell you, I can talk about the same things without a video camera in front of probably 10 people, 20 people, or maybe alone more comfortably. But when I prepare for this video shoot, I feel that, oh, the recording should be going fine, and there should be no glitch, the voice should be clear, I should not be forgetting something. I keep on my right hand side my notes book, I keep the book on the left hand side, and I'm all ready that, oh, it is a video recording, people should get a nice experience to hear my voice. So it actually puts an additional pressure on myself as well, that the video which I'm recording should go perfectly fine. So this is like being very, very self-conscious. But how do you put your self-conscious away? It's just by practice. If you do this thing day and day again, day by day again, week by week again, then you are able to get away from this self-conscious situation. And that's why it says that if you are going to make a presentation, or if you're going to perform in front of multiple people, then you should start doing and practicing this thing in front of a video camera or your mirror, so that you put your self-consciousness away from whole of the task. So that is the 16 solutions we talked about so far. So we talked today carry a pressure tune. We talked about use an anchor or an analogy. We talked about pressure yourself. We talked about squeeze. It's a more of a tactical example which is given. Writing the pressure off and putting away your self-consciousness. So this contains we have reached to 16 solutions. In the next episode 11, we'll talk about the 17 to 22 solutions. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and see you again. Thank you very much.